this as well. There's also a culture for failure. And this is something that he shared. So I want you to take a pen and a notepad. And there's 10 things that he spoke about, which is a culture for failure. And there's other things that we're going to add to it as well, which I want to hear from Alexandra. We spoke about this earlier. But the first thing is, I'm going to put you on mute, Gloria, because there's a little bit of background noise there. Okay. So the first thing, which in most cultures is the addiction to the approval of other people. And that's in most cultures. Who has grown up and parents have said, well, how is it going to look to our culture? How is it going to look to our family? How is it going to look to other people if you make certain decisions? And right, and so having that in your mind, you now make decisions based on your culture because of how it will look to other people. Not what is best for you, which is going to make you successful, make you follow your dream, but how it's going to look for your culture, for the people around you. Okay. So the first thing you have to come to terms with, if you want to move to the success culture, is the approval of other people. Other people are not going to approve of everything you do. They're not going to. And you have to come to terms with that. It's not going to be easy because most of those people will be your family, close friends that may not approve of what you're doing, of a decision you make. If you want to be guaranteed to fail, then go for the approval of those people. And I don't just mean in this business, I mean in anything you're doing in life, in true happiness for yourself. If you make decisions based on what other people want you to do, or because of your culture and what is normal in your culture, not is what is best for you, then it's very likely you're not going to be happy. Okay. And so the second point, and this is also a failure culture, which I've spoken about it before, is the addiction. Well, not addiction, but entertaining yourself more than educating yourself. That is a culture of failure. What do I mean by that? Most people I know are quicker to spend money on entertainment than they are to invest money into their education. People, I saw it. I saw Beyonce was doing a concert. People were queuing up. They couldn't wait to buy her 1,000, 2,000 pound ticket to go to a concert. But all of you know, you all experienced it. Same people, you ask them to invest in themselves, they want to question it because they've got the mindset of failure. They're addicted to investing in entertainment versus education. Okay. And this is something that Mr. Bug spoke about. People that have a failure culture focus on price. Focus on the price of things. And he spoke about it in terms of programming. He said that you know the big companies like McDonald's and the companies that advertise at the Super Bowl and any big sporting event or anything, they already know what type of food, the food companies know what you're watching, and so that's why they advertise to you at those events. And when you go into those places, all they're talking about is price. Buy one, get one free. And the price is the biggest thing that you can see when you go into these places. Because they know for most people, they're focused on price because of what they're programmed themselves with by what they're watching. Information that they're taking in. Success-minded people, the success culture, focuses on value and worth. You see, what's the price of coming on these calls? What's the price to learn trading? But what is the value that you can get from it? The price is minimal, but the value you can get is that you develop yourself into a better person. That now you're able to overcome different challenges that you weren't able to overcome before. In terms of trading, the value you get is you learn how to make 1% a day compounded on your money. And you've all seen the compound calculator, what that looks like in 2 years if you were to start with 1,000, 2,000. But the biggest thing is what is it worth? What is it worth depends on what you do with the information that you get from these calls. What you do with the information. I know what trading is worth to Dodo. I've seen what his results are. I know all he needs is 100,000 account. He'll be a millionaire in 12 months. So I want you to start asking yourself when you're making decisions about investing, whether it be in yourself or into something else. I want you to ask yourself, what is the potential value and what is the worth? Not what is the price. That's how you'll start to switch from that failure culture to the success culture. Okay. Is this making sense? Okay. The third point is blaming others as a failure culture. Blaming others for your failure. I spoke about it before in terms of not taking responsibility, but blaming others, pointing the finger at other people. It's very easy to point a finger at other people. It is. It's hard to point the finger at yourself and say, what did I do? What do I need to get better at? But that's the success culture. It's hard to take responsibility. But if you do what's hard now, then life gets easier. Yeah, as Alexandra says, and for all the sapphires and above, I've made you co-host anytime you want to jump in. I know, Alexandra, you look like you're itching to say something. Anytime, you don't have to put it in the chat. You can just unmute yourself and jump in. Okay. Because I say that because Alexandra is a prime example of someone that takes responsibility. She doesn't point the finger at other people. Prime example. Which is why I want you to hear from her tonight. Okay. So as I said, Alexandra, whenever you want to jump in, jump in. And any of the sapphires and above. The fourth point I want you to make a note of is being afraid to make mistakes. In most cultures, you've been programmed not to make mistakes, to be afraid of making mistakes. You've been programmed to be afraid of taking risks. You know, when you're a kid or maybe if you're parents now and your kid is climbing out somewhere high, you're like, get down, you're going to hurt yourself. A kid is not thinking about hurting himself. The parent is thinking about the kid hurting himself. You're programming them, or we've been programmed not to go too high. So you don't know subconsciously what's been programmed into us and what's you're programming into your children. You're telling them don't go too high. Not just of what they climbed on, but in terms of what they can get out of life. It's part of the culture, right? So you think it's normal. I thought it was normal. But what I've learned is not to make decisions based on what my mind thinks. I have to make decisions based on what HB thinks. I'm gonna say that again. Don't listen to my own thinking. Listen to the thinking of my mentor. When you understand that, life becomes much easier. I see people talk themselves out of success all the time. And that's my fifth point. You listen to your own thinking. When your thinking is the thinking that created the problem and the lifestyle that you have that you don't want. The minute you say, I think I should do it this way, you've already caused yourself to fail even further. And that's okay. We've all got egos. It's the ego that's talking to you. But you've got to calm the ego down and say, okay, I'm going to listen to the mentor. That success-minded people understand that they don't know everything. They understand that they can't take their own advice. They have to take the advice of the person that's been further than them. If it makes sense to you, then you're doing it wrong. I'm going to say, I'll say that again. If it makes sense, you're on the wrong path, because if it makes sense to you, it means it's your thinking. If it doesn't make sense, it means it's your mentor's thinking. That's what's going to take you to the next step that you want to go to in your life. Because there's something you don't understand that your mentor understands. Okay. There's many things that David has told me to do. I didn't understand. I just did it. There's still things he's telling me to do that I don't understand why he's telling me, but I'm just doing it. So if you have people that care about you enough to tell you and give you advice about what you should be doing, and you think, well, I'm going to do it this way because you have this happening in your life, you have that happening in your life, you have this happening in your life, and you think because I've got kids and I've got a job and I've got this and I've got that happening, and you say, well, I have to do it this way. What you've done is just cost yourself a potential another 1 to 5 years of success. I never thought about it like that until I got around people that understood and had the lifestyle that I wanted. Because they had done that. They'd made those mistakes. Okay. Another thing is being addicted to drama. Being addicted to drama. Meaning you're always around people that are moaning, complaining, talking about gossiping, just talking about negative things. You can be addicted even if you're not doing the talking, but you're doing the listening, you're still addicted to it. And this is something I'm still working on. When I'm saying this, guys, I'm not perfect, but I'm sharing things with you that I'm working on myself as well. Some of this I've got right, but some of it I'm still working on. But remember, your brain is like soil. What are you fertilizing your soil with? Remember, your nervous system does not know what is wrong and what is right. It doesn't know the difference. So even if you're not doing the talking, but you're doing the listening, you're still fertilizing your soil, meaning your brain, with rubbish. And we all know no good crop can grow in poisonous soil. So if you wouldn't eat poison, why would you take poison in through your ears or through your eyes? I know if I said to any of you right now, this is poisonous, would you eat it? You'd say no. But many people, and the old me, I would allow people to put poison into my ears and into my eyes by what I'm watching. In the Jamaican culture, they like to send you who's just recently died. Family members would like to tell you about who's recently died. Watch this, watch that. This is why I don't watch the news as well, because they're poisoning the soil. Okay. Remember I said to you, Alexandra, you don't have to write in the chat, just unmute.
And I just don't want to interrupt your,
My flow,
thought
it's
pattern.
okay. Carry, jump in and add. So what were you saying for those of the people that can't see the chat right now, and maybe they're watching from a phone? What did you just put in the chat?
That this was amazing way how to explain my kids that are based on freedom of choice. My upbringing or me raising them as a mother, I want them to make the choices and take the responsibility. So I cannot tell them you cannot watch it. That's not in my mother culture. So sometimes I really think about ways how to explain it so they understand. And this is big part because they are on TikTok entertaining their brains with rubbish. They're watching either stupid movies or horror movies or horror scenes. They are entertaining themselves with things that I would never watch. And I thought duplication will be happening, but it's not. And we know that people I usually duplicate 80% of the wrong things and 20% only of the right things. Same with kids. So this was amazing way how to explain, so they understand explain it in picture with the poison, because kids are very literal. They cannot have philosophies from me.
Yeah.
So this was fantastic. Thank you so much. It's a pearl.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for sharing that as well, because it's from a different perspective. It's from a female perspective, right? There's feminine and there's masculine energy in the world, and both is needed for the world to go around. Okay. And so that's why I want you to hear from more of Alexandra. And so Alexandra, as I said, jump in whenever you feel you want to share. But the next point, which was one of the hardest things for me when I was younger, but once I understood where I was going, it made it easier, is spending time with people that are going nowhere. You see, when I was in Houston, Texas, I was doing training with Kern and with David Hunt, and I can tell you the training was absolutely killing me. It was one of the hardest training that I'd done, and it was hard. I had already thought, okay, well, I can handle this training because of the training that I'd done with my PT and in the gym. But it's different type of training. Okay. I was doing more weightlifting. They were doing more HIIT sessions. And so I realized there was another level to go to in terms of my fitness, because I'd already hit the ceiling of my current environment of people around me. Nobody was pushing me to go any further in my current environment. Does that make sense? So your current environment of people that are around you, if you're at the top, you need to change your environment. You need to be around people that are going to force you to grow, because they're more disciplined than you. They're healthier than you. They're more ambitious than you. They're making more money than you. They believe more than you do in themselves. Why? Because you become the people you're around. Be honest, guys. How many of you thought that making, okay, also Alexandra as well, prior to network marketing, how many of you thought that making 10,000 a month was a lot of money prior to becoming in this environment of what we hear now? Be honest. Making $10,000 a month, did you think it may even still be a lot of money for you right now, but did you think it was a lot of money prior to joining this community? I will put in the chat on mute. Yeah. You did at some point of your life. Yeah. Is that okay? I see the answers coming in now in the chat. Okay. Most of you did. Okay. Now that the environment has changed and you're around people that is normal, and you don't just hear 10,000 a month, you're hearing 1 million a month, you're hearing 4 million a month, you're hearing 10 million a month. Does 10,000 a month sound a lot to you anymore? It doesn't, because the environment of people has changed. And I'll explain this. There was and I'm going to post this picture in the group chat as well. There's a picture of a shark, and the shark is in a shark tank. Okay. That shark, because it's in the tank, only grows to 6 meters long. Because it's in a tank. That same shark in the ocean grows to 60 meters long. The same shark. Let me ask you, what changed? It's the same shark. It's the environment. It's bigger. There is less restrictions, there's less limits. So if that can happen to a shark, what do you think happens to your mind? Okay. I want you to understand that. This is why I had this conversation. I love being uncomfortable. I love going into environments, going into Mr. Bugs's house, videoing the neighborhood of where Mr. Bugs lives. So he lives in a place called Royal Oaks, which is the wealthiest city or town in Houston, Texas. It's the wealthiest place. So when we drive up, it's a gated community. You have the security. They call with it. We tell them we're there for Mr. Bugs. I want you to picture yourself in living in that community. And they don't call you by your first name. They call you by your surname because of who you've become. And we call and we say we're here for Mr. Bugs, and we go through the gates, and all you can see, the minimum is $2 million homes. Minimum is $2 million homes that we're driving through in this neighborhood. We're driving, so we go through the gates, and we have to keep driving. Oh, and it was another 5-10 minute drive to get to another set of gates, and we have to give Mr. Bugs his name again. We're here to see Mr. Bugs. And so the $2 to $5 million homes are on the outskirts. We go through the next set of gates, and that's where we get to the higher end homes, 5 million and above in this part of the neighborhood, in the center. I want you to understand that's what, when you put yourself in that environment and you see what's possible, you walk through the home, you see how he lives as as a home that he had just had spare. Your brain cannot go back. Your brain can't go back and unsee that. So you end up wanting more out of life because of the experiences that your brain has gone through. That's why you've got to change your circle of people that you surround yourself with. The next step is you're careless with money. Your money doesn't work for you. I know, obviously, most of you are not. That's not you. That's not you in terms of the culture of failure, because that's why you're here. But let me explain something to you. This was what explained to me. This is why most people are in poverty or struggle, is because they have more liabilities than they have assets. Okay. So most people have one stream of income outside of our community, right? Most people have one stream of income. But which is, let's say, their asset. But how many liabilities do they have? They have their mortgage or rent. They have their car bill, whether it be their financing or they bought it outright, but now they have to pay for petrol. They maybe have their Netflix. They have all types of subscriptions. And all of these are liabilities because it's taking money out of your pocket. And they want this one asset to look after all of that. That is why most people fail. because they're asking one to look after 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then people start taking out things on finance. They start taking out toys, game consoles, all types of things. They start taking on buy now, pay later, taking money out of your pocket. So the goal is to accumulate more assets than you have liabilities. More income streams that are going into your bank account. And so at least have one income stream for every bill that you have going out. This is something that Mr. Bugs teaches. I don't want you to just think about, I boomerang here. There's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. I was talking to someone about that earlier. I want you to get that book, and it teaches you what you should be use as your expenses, what you should put aside for taxes, what you should put aside for savings, and what you should put aside for investment. If part of your monthly income, whether it be your job or your income that's coming from iBoomerang or trading or whatever, if you're not putting aside at least 10 to 20% a month of that for investment opportunities, then you're likely to fail. This is why I follow Mr. Bugs, because he doesn't want us to be part of this community just to make money from the opportunities he brings. He wants you to become an entrepreneur and become part of the success culture of making your money work for you, but not just with this community, but have the mindset of understanding the more money you make here, the more money you can invest outside. There should be no reason why in the next 5 years, everyone on this call doesn't have a property portfolio that they're renting out. I'm being deadly serious, guys. This isn't just this. We're here to really impact lives, not just with network marketing. We want you to be wealthy. Mr. Bugs didn't get to where he is just right now, just from network marketing. He followed Bill Britt from Amway, who is the billionaire that he was talking about, the multi-billionaire that owns 4 jets and owns many banks in the US and owns many luxury brands. He used the money and then reinvest the money. He made the money, reinvest the money. So have a proportion that you're going to invest every month, or you're putting aside for investment opportunities. That's how I want you to think. That's failure culture, is spend more than is coming in. Success culture is always have enough to invest, always have money to invest. You don't save for a rainy day, you save for investments. That's what you save for. That's the success culture. Okay. And the last one of the last things I want to talk about is, and then the main thing I want to talk about after that, which I want to let Alexandra speak on, that is being proactive, not waiting for things to be done for you. Failure culture is you're waiting for everything to be done for you. You put your success in someone else's hands because you're waiting for things to be done for you. I was guilty of that. I would always wait for other people to do something for me. Success culture is being proactive. How can I do it myself? How? Where can I find this information that I need for myself? So little things. If you're not in the position of leadership right now, it's likely because you're waiting for things to be done for you. You're waiting for Alexandra or Miriam or myself or one of the leaders to put on a presentation, for instance. Waiting for us to put on a presentation for you to invite guests. Why don't you do the presentation yourself? Be proactive. You don't trade unless with myself or David Hunt is doing the live trading calls, because you're waiting for it to be given to you. Why don't you go and jump on Elevate and learn for yourself? Like we said before, if you take trades and you make mistakes, so what? That's how you learn. Be proactive. I hope you understand this, guys. David does very, very little for me. When it comes to admin, David does none, zero. He doesn't do any admin for me whatsoever. If I ask him a question, what he says, what do you think Mr. Bugs would do? That's his response. Because he wants me to be an independent thinker, not a dependent thinker. He did that to me for the first 2.5 years in iBoomerang. Would never answer a question when I asked him. He would ask me, what would Mr. Bugs do? I'd go and figure it out. And if I did get it wrong, and I get it wrong 2 or 3 times, then I'd come back and I said, I'm keep getting it wrong. Then maybe he'd give me the answer, but he was training me to be an independent thinker rather than a dependent thinker. Why? Because when you go out into the world of entrepreneurship, real entrepreneurship, where there isn't this community, you're an entrepreneur, you put $500,000 into starting your own business. You have to pay thousands for knowledge, for experts in most fields. But if you're an independent thinker already, you can take that into any industry, because you've already got the culture of finding a way, figuring it out, finding a way. You've got that culture. It's a success culture. The failure culture is you're waiting for other people to do everything for you. And it's okay. I know why you're doing that, because subconsciously you're scared of making mistakes. Because your brain goes back to when you were climbing up and the parents said, get down, you're going to hurt yourself. That's what your brain is thinking about. That's why you don't take action or do things, because you're scared of making a mistake. I'm here to tell you, all successful people make mistakes all the time. They just don't make the same mistake. The way you're going to get ahead is by making a mistake and then figuring out that that wasn't the way to do it. That's what's going to give you true confidence. You can get to diamond, but if somebody else helps you the whole way and you don't do it, any part of it, they're doing all the training calls, the presentations, everything for you, you'll be an insecure diamond. That's not what we want. We want you to be so confident that you can go anywhere and do anything. because you've already got that habit, that culture of being successful by being proactive. Okay. So I want to pass over to Alexandra to talk about edification, because this is one of the biggest things that I have seen has held back not only myself, but the entire team, is edification. And when it comes to edification, and I mean this honestly, I don't know anybody that edifies me the way Alexandra edifies me. Not because I'm any better than her. I'm not. She just understands the impact I have for her life. Same thing with me and David Hunt. It's not because he's any better than me. It's because the impact it's having in my life. Okay. So Alexandra, I want to pass it over to you. Take it away and share. What is your wisdom and your knowledge around edification and the importance of it?
Thank you, Mr. Bond. I know we have just a few minutes to go for the training, so I will not take long. 2 main points, or 1 main point towards what you've been saying at the end. By going and trying and doing it yourself, right? Overcoming the fear. I watched a beautiful documentary yesterday where a lady is training horses, and her horse, she said, I want that horse to be just a courageous, beautiful horse, not to be afraid of anything. So let's say when the horse is afraid of sounds, then she slowly, little by little, would start covering his head with, plastic bag. Then he would have to run into plastic bag. Like she would add and add and add. But the horse at the end, she could do all kinds of moves around him and sounds around him. And the horse was totally calm. The horse was just happy. So the same thing, we don't have a trainer in our life that would do it with us, but I can do it step by step with myself. Either I do it with one-on-one presentations first, right? And then I'll add 3-on-1 and 5-on-1, or at first I'll be speaking to couch. That's how I trained. I was walking around the apartment and talking to my chair or to my couch, pretending there are people. So this was something that I wanted to add to that. As far as edification, I've been thinking last couple of days, we've been talking about this with Miriam, and I really think as far as culture, you've been asking us, what is the one thing or what are the things that hold us back in our culture? And I honestly believe that the one thing that holds us back from success, mainly in this business, in network marketing, is edification, lack of edification. It all comes from, I believe, in our culture and possibly in a lot of other cultures, the criticism is such a strong part of raising kids. I believe the parents do it because they've been raised the same way, and also out of their fear, they want to shape us into a good person. They don't understand we're already a good person that just needs the right pictures, so we just head the right way. Instead, when a parent says, don't fall, the picture in the mind of the kid is fall. Mine cannot have picture of not falling. It can only have a picture of walking or falling. The same with the negativity and criticism. When my father wants the best out of me, so he, in a good faith, tells me, you are so irresponsible in this, and you are so bad with this. He wants to help me. But what it teaches my brain is being focused on negative things when I meet a person. when I go into a group, we naturally focus on what's wrong. Now, I really want to have a big focus on this, to learn, really consciously learn, to start focusing on good things and knowing how to say it. Because if we learn this in this business, I cannot even explain how powerful that will be. You will see. Your whole business will be on steroids. Just the second when you know how to edify, even when you meet with someone, because edification is very deep topic. What it actually means if majority of people don't know how to give a reward to themselves, cannot give a kind word to themselves. All they do, they look for it everywhere else. And if you know this and you give them the kind word, they'll go with you wherever. They'll go with you into your business because they'll feel appreciated, maybe for the first time in their life. So this we can bring on all kinds of levels. For example, if I'm meeting a person or if I'm doing a presentation, before I can just close my eyes and focus on the future people that I'm meeting. And I can really say to them, I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for listening to me. And thank you for wanting to do something with your life. Thank you for allowing me. Thank you that I can. Just something like this, just to give the respect. We lack respect. We lack respect so much. And if you show through your conversation, not being afraid of saying something. On the contrary, say something very firmly. Say your presentation very firmly, but at the same time with respect to the person. For example, if they speak, don't jump into what they say. If they speak, listen with respect. They'll feel it and they will want to be around you. The same when and I really think this is a topic for like the whole mindset call. Imagine if you start edifying everyone and everything in this business to your friends, just talking on a beer, having a beer or dinner or whatever, just sometimes whenever you say a sentence, you say edification, a sentence about it. They'll listen. You don't even have to talk business with them, but they'll listen that something in you is different, and the respect, you talk about it, even when you don't have to, even if you are not doing presentation. The same when I've seen it, so many mistakes, it's unconsciously that when you want us to help you, it's not that we are better than you, but you have to speak very nicely of us. If you want us to do a presentation for you or close your guest or whatever, he must have a high respect for us. And the only way they get high respect for us is through your edification. So I really want us all, if possible, to give it a thought next few days. This is an issue I've had for years. If I understand how strong is edification, I would be completely somewhere else, I promise you. So wherever when we speak business, when you enter a room, when we do business, either training or training call or whatever, always think respect to others. What is respectful? What is not respectful? That's a kind of edification as well. What is respectful to do? Like, how can I, because edification doesn't have to be by words, as Rowan was saying. Edification is through actions. The subconscious of people always watches. So I've seen also many times when people speak just one sentence negative about their upline, or one sentence negative in between them, even about their downline, about their team. That's things. I tell you something. I've never, ever heard Mr. Bucks say one negative word about anybody, ever. So there was a sponsor in my last company that done really not professional thing, right? Not really at all. I would say he behaved very ugly, to the point that I actually had my message across to Mr. Bucks. And the only thing he said, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry that he has behaved this way. That was it. And it was really ugly behavior, right? I'm sorry that he behaved this way, or he handled it this way. He could have done it better. That's it. So no negativity in team. Like really, it's so rooted in us. But I believe that just with our conscious aim to this, we'll create such a beautiful atmosphere that whenever people step into the atmosphere of respect, mutual respect, and mutual edification, they'll just want to be part of it, because they never had it. They didn't have it in their families. They obviously don't have it in their works. And usually they don't have it even from their husband, their wife, or their children. So they'll come just to feel the respect. So I wanted to say something else, but I think we don't have time. So maybe next time.
I want to thank you, Alexandra, for sharing that, because I know it's something that myself and Alexandra have spoken about a lot, because I spoke to Mr. Bugs a lot about this, and it was a big topic at the event. And we've got a couple of minutes, but edification can be used in a positive, and it can also be used in a negative. Okay, you can de-edify the product, the company, the people, by when you are the person that is sharing negativity with your team, or sharing challenges. And you may not think it's negative, but if you're sharing challenges with people in your team, you are de-edifying, which means you're having a negative impact on your business. I want to understand that. But when you're talking highly, it doesn't mean it has to be. Remember, I spoke about the spiritual and the physical. There's a book. And we're going to end this now as well. So there's a book called Hung by the Tongue, and it says that life and death is in the power of your tongue. You can speak life to your business, or you can speak death to your business by how you edify. Okay. So I love you guys. I hope you've taken something away from this. Post in the chats what you've taken away. We're going to jump on the team training now with Black Diamond, Mr. Avinash Nagamar, who's a multi-millionaire. So if you've ever wanted to even make a million, you need to be on that call. Okay. Love you guys, and I'll see you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.